They're watching you. Every move you make, every reaction you give, the world is a stage, and most people aren't looking to see you win. They're watching to see if you'll break. So what do? You act as if nothing affects you, because silence is louder than rage. Calm is stronger than chaos. And indifference, that's power. The power to control your emotions, to rise above the noise. To master the art of stoicism while everyone else is burning in the flames of drama. This is not about being numb. This is about being undisturbed. You don't flinch when they insult you. You don't fold when they ignore you. You don't break when they betray you. Because the strongest version of yourself isn't the one that screams back, argues, or begs to be seen. The strongest version of you is the one who keeps walking with your head held high, as if none of it had the power to shake you. The moment you react emotionally to someone's words or actions, you hand them the remote control to your inner world. And that's why the person who stays calm in the face of pressure, conflict, or insult holds the real power. Emotional control. It's not about pretending you don't feel. It's about making sure your feelings don't make decisions for you. Most people are stuck in a cycle of reacting. They get cut off in traffic and they explode. Someone ignores them and they spiral into self-doubt. A minor disagreement turns into an emotional war. But the one who remains calm doesn't fall into these traps. They see the chaos. They feel the heat, but they don't allow it to consume them. You Havito understand that emotional control isn't just a trait. It's a form of dominance. When you don't flinch in the face of disrespect, you send a message. You don't move me. That message is powerful. Not because you're indifferent or careless, but because you've trained yourself to rise above impulsive emotion. You refuse to give people the satisfaction of seeing you disturbed, and that's a threat to anyone who feeds off reactions. The reason people provoke you is simple. They want access to your beast. They want to create tension, watch you crack, and gain a sense of superiority from it. When you react, they win. Not because they were right, but because they controlled your emotional state. And when someone can control how you feel, they essentially control your life. Remaining calm is not weakness. It is strength, precision, and discipline. It's the difference between a leader and a follower. Leaders know that every action has a consequence, and every reaction is a choice. Followers live in defense, reacting to everything around them, never realizing they're giving away their power with every emotional outburst. The calm person sees the bigger picture. They understand that short-term satisfaction from shouting back, arguing, or proving a point is not worth long-term peace. They choose to pause, reflect, and move with purpose rather than impulse. In a world where everyone is quick to explode, staying calm makes you stand out. It earns you respect even from those who dislike you. People may not admit it, but they admire those who are unshaken, those who don't get pulled into drama. They sense the strength in your silence. They feel the control in your stillness. And even though they might try to get a reaction out of you, deep down, they know they're not in control of you. And that frustrates them because most people aren't looking for resolution. They're looking for reaction. They're looking for proof that they can influence your mood. And when you show no emotional response, when you act as if nothing affects you, they're left powerless. It takes internal work to become this kind of person. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to retrain your mind to respond with logos instead of emotion. You have to get comfortable with not proving your side, not defending your dignity in every moment, and not needing to be understood. That's hard at first. Your ego will scream. You'll feel the urge to correct people, to fire back, to stand up for yourself. But there's a higher power in restraint. When you choose not to react, you're not surrendering. You're rising. You're stepping into the mindset of Simeon who cannot be manipulated. Think of the people you admire, the real leaders, the ones who walk into a room and own it without saying a word. They aren't the ones who get loud or emotional. They are calm, composed, unreadable. You can't shake them because they've already mastered themselves. That's who you need to become. Someone who sees through manipulation, who can read between the lines, who doesn't get caught up in emotional warfare. You must become the person who people can't figure out because you don't hand out reactions like freebies. You stay in control. you hold your power. You act as if nothing affects you. Not because you're numb, but because you've learned that power lies in restraint. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you're accusing power. Every time you walk away instead of arguing, you're owning your energy. Every time you keep your composure, when others want to see you fall apart, you're rising. This level of control builds confidence. It creates a foundation that no insult, no failure, and no person can shake. When you realize that your reaction is your responsibility, everything changes. You stop blaming others for how you feel. You stop allowing their words to dictate your day. You become the kind of person who is deeply rooted, immovable, untouchable. You become the person they can't control. Emotional discipline is not about pretending you're unaffected. It's about mastering the art of response. It's knowing that emotions will rise, anger, disappointment, frustration, but refusing to be enslaved by them. When you build emotional discipline, you're creating a shield that protects your inner peace from outside chaos. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't allow what you feel to control what you do. That kind of control is not natural. It's forged in moments of discomfort through practice, through awareness. It's a choice to respond with intention instead of reacting with impulse. In a world that can stand the trees to trigger your emotions through people, situations, pressure, and expectations, emotional discipliner bulks your silent armor. It separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it. The moments a mething doesn't go your way, your emotions will try to take over. You'll feel the pull to lash out, to complain, to point fingers. But emotional discipline gives you the strength to pause, process, and then proceed wisely. It puts space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you regain your power. Every time you practice restraint, you're training your emotional muscles. Think of it like going to the gym, except instead of lifting weights, you're lifting your level of control. When someone disrespects you, instead of reacting with fire, you respond with silence or poise. Not because you're weak, but because you understand your energy is too expensive to waste on cheap moments. You know that not every situation deserves your full emotional investment. Some things are better ignored than engaged. Some people are better walked away from than confronted. The power of emotional discipline is that it puts you back in the driver's seat of your life. You no longer live as a puppet pulled by every string of emotion. You no longer say things you regret, make decisions you'll wish you could undo, or hurt people you care about in the heat of the moment. You slow down. You reflect. You'll become strategic with your energy, selective with your words, and wise with your responses. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you powerful because you're no longer controlled by the waves of emotion. You've become the anchor. This discipline isn't just about handling conflict. It shows up in how you deal with failure, rejection, and stress. When you have emotional discipline, you don't panic at the first sign of difficulty. You don't crumble when plans fall apart. You don't spiral into negativity just because one thing didn't go your way. You've taught your mind to stay grounded. You've conditioned your nervous system to breathe through storms. That is a rare strength. In a world where people fall apart over minor setbacks, you remain focused. You move forward without losing your center. People often mistake emotional discipline for indifference. But it's the opposite. Indifference, isopathy. You don't care. Emotional discipline is deep care with deep control. You care enough to stay aligned with your higher self. You care enough not to sabotage your progress just because you're feeling something intense. It's emotional maturity. It's realizing that temporary emotions should never dictate permanent action. It's realizing that peace is more valuable than being right. And your growth is more important than being reactive. When you train yourself in emotional discipline, you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to respond to disrespect with more disrespect. You move with dignity. You lead with grace. And because of that, begin to command respect without demanding it. People notice that you don't fold easily, that you don't get rattled, that you don't lose control, and that earns a kind of influence that loud emotions never will. The most dangerous person in the room is not the one who yells the loudest. It's the one who doesn't flinch doesn't fold, doesn't falloper. That person holds silent power. That's the kind of power emotional discipline gives you. It makes you unpredictable in the best way. People can't play with your emotions because they can't read your next move. You become composed. You become calculated. You become free. Because when you are not ruled by emotion, you are ruled by wisdom. And wisdom will take you further than emotion ever could. It will help you build relationships that last, careers that thrive, and a life that is stable even when everything around you isn't. Emotional discipline is your arm. It shields your peace, protects your growth, and makes you untouchably a world full of chaos. It allows you to be soft-hearted and strong-minded at the same time. And that balance is the foundation of unstoppable power. There is something powerful about the ability to suffer in silence and heal in private. It's a trait that very few develop because we live in a world that constantly encourages us to share everything, to post every emotion, to vent our pain loudly so others can see it. But true strength isn't found in how loudly you cry for attention. It's found in your ability to hold yourself together when no one sees your struggle. When you stop announcing your pain and start owning your healing process internally, you step into a different kind of power, the kind that transforms you quietly and completely. Suffering in silence is not about bottling up your emotions or pretending you're fine when you're not. It's about choosing your space of healing carefully. It's understanding that not everyone deserves access to our vulnerability, that your wounds aren't meant to be displayed for sympathy or validation. The most profound growth happens in the dark, away from the noise, where you sit alone with your pain and turn it into wisdom. This silence is not emptiness. It's a Zockard space where you start to rebuild piece by piece with no one watching. No applause, no recognition, just inner work. There's a certain dignity in healing privately. When life breaks you, it's easy to scream top host, to call everyone you know and explain what happened. But when you resist that urge and instead focus all your energy on becoming better rather than being seen as broken, you take your power back. You no longer give people's ability to interpret your pain, to misjudge your story, to use your low points as gossip. You don't need any Unedo. Validate your healing when you know exactly what you're working through, Indwa. You're becoming because of it. Most people want to be seen as strong, but they think strength comes from declaring how much they've suffered. Real strength is different. It's in the silence where you wipe your own tears. It's in themaments when you get up after crying yourself to sleep and still show up with your head held high. It's in the refusal to let pain define your identity. You'll heal quietly because you know that your scars don't need an audience. They are private proof that you survived. You endured what others might not even be able to imagine, and that you're still standing. When you suffer insolence, you take away the world's power to pity you. You choose not to be seen as a victim, but as someone who is evolving. Healing in private allows you to protect your process because healing is fragile. It's not linear. There will be days you feel strong and days you fall apart. The world doesn't need toughness every high and low. It's better when they only see the outcome. The stronger, wiser, more resilient version of you that emerges. They don't need to see the breakdowns, the self-doubt, the nights of uncertainty. They'll see the result, and they'll wonder how you managed it all without ever breaking in front of them. That's where your power lies, in the mystery of your strength. In the way you suffered, struggled, and healed without turning it into a performance. It makes you unpredictable. It makes you untouchable because you've proven to yourself that you don't need external support to grow. You've learned to be your own safe space, your own comfort, your own guide. That's rare in a world full of people looking for rescue. You've rescued yourself, and that changes how you move through life. You become a calmer. You become less reactive. You stop needing validation. And that liberates you from emotional dependence on anyone. The beauty of silent healing is that it builds a foundation no one can see, but everyone can feel. You start speaking less, observing more. You become more selective with your energy. You stop explaining your worth. You stop begging to be understood. You simply live in a way that reflects your strength. People will feel the change in you. They won't know what you went through, but they'll notice something different. your presence, your boundaries, your peace. And that presence came from your private war with pain, fought quietly, but won completely. This way of healing doesn't mean isolating forever. It means giving yourself the solitude needed to truly transform. To not just survive pain, but rise from it stronger, wiser, and more grounded. You start to understand yourself better. You stop hiding behind distractions. You face your emotions hidden and dismantle the damage piece by piece. That is healing. And when it's done privately, without outside noise or judgment, it becomes permanent because it's not for show. It's for you. It's for your growth, your clarity, and your future. There is a rare kind of power in being unreadable, in carrying yourself with such inner control that no one can tell what's going on in your mind. When people can't figure you out, they can't manipulate you. They don't know what triggers you, what you fear, or what you desire. That mystery gives you an upper hand in a world that thrives on reaction. Most people wear their emotions like badges: anger, jealousy, insecurity, even excitement. It's all visible, easily exploited. But when you've come unreadable, you take back control of your emotional privacy. You start to live from a place of internal security rather than external exposure. Being readable is not about shutting people out or becoming emotionally distant. It's about guarding your emotionalis ponus so you aren't an open book for anyone to flip through. It's about becoming unpredictable in a world that constantly tries to anticipate your every move. The moment people think they know exactly how you'll respond, they start using that predictability against you. They know what buttons to push, what words to use, how to disrupt your peace. But when you remain calm and unreadable, you throw off their entire playbook. You deny them the reaction they were counting on, and that frustrates them more than any argument ever could. There's a psychological advantage in not being emotionally transparent. When you're unreadable, people are left guessing. They hesitate before crossing you because they don't know what lies beneath your calm exterior. They can't figure out whether you're angry or unaffected, whether you'll care or couldn't care less, and that confusion becomes your shield. It forces people to think twice before testing you. It keeps manipulators at a distance, because manipulation only works when the manipulator knows your triggers. Taki thought knowledge away and their power crumbles. In many situations, silence and stillness say more than words ever could, while others argue, explain, overreact, or defend themselves. The unreadable person stays quiet, observing, writhing, responding only when necessary. This presence commons aspect. It creates an aura of confidence. It shows that you don't need to explain yourself, prove yourself, or seek validation. You've reached a level of self-rust where external noise doesn't disturb your internal peace. And that's what makes you dangerous. Not because you intend harm, but because you cannot be controlled. You start to recognize that not everyone deserves a six to your emotions. Not every situation warrants a visible reaction. You begin to protect your energy like it's sacred, revealing only what's necessary and keeping the rest guarded. This doesn't make you cold. It makes you wise. You learn to control your facial expressions, your tone, your body language, and most importantly, your words. You move in silence, speak with intention, and never allow anyone to read you like a book. You become a puzzle, not a headline. A mystery, not a story. And that shift changes the way people treat you. People respect what they don't understand. When they can't figure out how you think or what you'll do next, they become cautious. They step lightly. They start treating you like Simone, who's operating on a different frequency. And that frequency is built through discipline, mental, emotional, and behavioral. It's built by choosing not to respond immediately, not to share everything, not to show your full hand. You give people just enough to interact, but never enough to control. And slowly, you create boundaries without ever speaking about them. Your unreadability becomes the boundary. This isn't about living a life of secrecy. It's about mastering control over your reactions, so that your mood, your energy, and your decisions are always yours. When you're unreadable, people don't know what you're thinking, and that alone gives you leverage. In arguments, you remain calm, and that calmness unsettles people more than yelling ever could. In negotiations, your silence creates pressure. In relationships, your composure sets the tone. In challenges, your restraint becomes your strength. Everyone else is busy trying to be loud, to be seen, to make an impression. But you've learned that mystery is more powerful than noise. Over time, you become the person who doesn't flinch under pressure, the one who can sit in a room full of chaos and still exude a control. People will wonder how you stay calm, how you maintain composure, how you navigate storms without falling apart. But you know the truth. It's because you've stopped giving people thepor to read and predict your emotions. You've trained yourself to observe more, reveal less, and always stay centered. And in that space of mystery, you've found your peace, your strength, and your unshakable presence. People will always talk. Whether you rise or fall, win or lose, stay silent or speak up, someone somewhere will have something to say. The moment you understand this truth deeply, you begin to take your power back. Living life in reaction to opinions is a form of imprisonment. One that changes your self-worth to the shifting judgments of others. The most freeing realization is that what people say behind your back is none of your concern. You weren't placed on this earth to meet everyone's expectations or to conform to their limited view of who you are. The more you build your life around their noise, the more disconnected you become from your purpose. The ones who talk behind your back are often the ones walking behind you for a reason. They're not ahead of you. They're not building what you're building, and they don't have the courage to be where you are. So instead of focusing on their own growth, they focus on you. They criticize, gossip, speculate, not because they know the truth about you, but because they don't understand your journey. And it's easier to speak on someone else's life than to reflect on their own. But none of that'll move you, because the moment you allow their words to affect your direction, you give them control they've never earned. You have to learn to keep walking when whispers follow you. You have to become immune to the sting of petty talk, because if you keep turning around every time someone speaks your name, you'll never move forward. Every successful person, every focused soul, every purpose-driven human has dealt with the weight of criticism. And what separates those who win from those woest away is their ability to keep going. Regardless of who's talking, they refuse to be defined by outsiders. They understand that reputation is shaped by others, but character is built insolence and solitude, in unseen commitment. There is strength insolence in knowing who you are without having to shout it to the world. You didn't have to correct every lie. You don't have to defend every accusation. You don't have to prove anything, Tanyan. Time exposes truth. Let people talk while you build. Let them judge while you grow. Let them mock while you become everything they never saw coming. The longer you walk your path with focus, the louder your results will speak. And in the end, nothing silences gossip more effectively than undeniable growth. You rise and suddenly the noise fades. Not because it stops, but because it no longer reaches you. Detachment from opinions is not arrogance. It's peace. It's understanding that people will misinterpret your silence, your confidence, your success, your resilience. And that's okay. Let them. You weren't created to fit their version of acceptable. The moment you try to please everyone, you lose yourself. That's why the most powerful people are often misunderstood. They don't chase approval. They don't explain themselves. They just live in alignment with who they are and let the world catch up or fall away. Being unaffected by what people say behind your back requires emotional maturity. It's a discipline. It means choosing not to engage in meaningless battles. It means reserving your energy for things that build you rather than drain you. You stop responding out of insecurity and start moving from a place of confidence. You understand that rumors don't define reality and opinions are not truth. So instead of being reactive, you become intentional. You don't stoop to their level. You don't match their pettiness. You elevate beyond it. The most dangerous person is the one who knows they're being talked about and still walks with their head high, still works with fire in their soul, still shows up with grace and GR. That person is unstoppable because they've mastered the art of emotional distance from accessory noise. They've realized that people will always have something to say. And if you're always listening, you'll never hear your own inner voice. So, they turn the volume down on other sand, turn the volume up on purpose, vision, growth, and peace. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them speculate. Every word they waste on you is time they're not using to improve themselves. And every moment you remain unmoved by their judgment, Issa, moment you're claiming your power. They can keep talking behind your back, but you'll keep building ahead of them, and eventually they'll have no choice but to watch what they once laughed at become what they now respect. Not because you answered them, but because you outgrew the space where their words once had meaning. When you operate from emotional detachment, you gain control over your responses, your reactions, and your peace of mind. It's not about not feeling anything. It's about not letting those feelings run your life. The ability to stay emotionally detached in situations that used to drain you is a mark of growth. It means you've reached a point where you no longer allow your emotions to dictate your choices. You no longer hand over your power to circumstances, people, or outcomes that are outside of your control. You've learned to separate what you feel from how you act. And that shift alone can change the entire trajectory of your life. Life throws challenges constantly. Conflicts, disappointments, betrayals, setbacks. And most people react instantly, emotionally, without thinking. They get triggered, they lash out, they spiral. But when you detach emotionally, you start responding instead of reacting. You start thinking before you speak. You pause before you move. You weigh the consequences of your actions instead of being ruled by the heat of the moment. That's not weakness. That's strength. It takes far more courage to stay calm in chaos than it does to explode. Emotional detachment becomes your armor. Not to shield you from life, but to keep you grounded through it. One of the greatest advantages of emotional detachment is clarity. When you are emotionally involved, especially in toxic situations or relationships, your judgment becomes clouded. You overlook red flags, tolerate disrespect, and make excuses for behavior that doesn't serve you. But when you step back and observe without being consumed, you begin to see things for what they really are. You start making decisions from a place of wisdom rather than woundedness. You stop justifying what hurts you and begin choosing what heals you. Detachment creates space between your heart and the harm. And in that space, you find discernment. There's freedom in not reacting to everything. You no longer feel obligated to attend every argument you're invited to. You no longer need to defend yourself against every accusation or explain yourself to every critic. You have come okay with letting things go, not because you don't care, but because you care more about your peace than proving a point. People will test you. They'll try to provoke you. They'll push your buttons just to see if they still have access to the old version of you. But emotional detachment means they don't. You've changed. You no longer give them the satisfaction of response. You've outgrown the version of yourself that needed to be right loud or react. There's a misconception that emotional detachment means becoming cold or heartless. But in truth, it means becoming wiser with your energy. You still feel deeply. You still love. You still care. But you don't allow your emotions to compromise your dignity or your direction. You stop trying to control people, outcomes, or how others perceive you. You begin to accept things as they are and focus on what you can actually change: your mindset, your actions, your path. And in doing so, you'll free yourself from the emotional roller coasters that used to throw you off course. In relationships, emotional detachment protects your heart. It doesn't mean withholding affection or closing yourself off. It means loving without losing yourself. It means being present without becoming dependent. It means giving your best without attaching your worth to how someone receives it. You become rooted in self-respect. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop needing others to validate your feelings or mirror them back to you. You find stability within yourself. And that stability becomes the foundation for healthier connections. No more emotionalities and lows based on someone else's actions. You've learned to remain balanced no matter what. When you're emotionally detached, people lose their power over you. They can't bait you with insults. They can't guilt trip you into compliance. They can't manipulate you through emotional games. And when they realize you no longer respond like used to, it confuses them. They question what changed. What changed is that you stopped living in emotional reaction mode. You took back control. You learned to sit with discomfort instead, of letting it explode. You learn that silence is sometimes stronger than any reply. You learn that composure is louder than any outburst. This emotional self-control doesn't develop overnight. It comes from repeated situations where you've been hurt, pushed, tested, and each time you chose to respond differently. You trained yourself to pause, to breathe, to assess, and eventually detachment became your default, not your defense. You stopped being a slave to your feelings and started becoming the master of your responses. That mastery is rare, it's respected, and it gives you a calm power that very few possess. The world continues to throw challenges, but you stand unaffected. Not because you feel nothing, but because you've learned to control what deserves a reaction. And what? Life will always test you, but true strength lies in your ability to remain composed under pressure. Most people believe strength is loud. It shouts back, it fights, it explodes. Butril's strength is quiet. It's the calm in the storm, the stillness and chaos, the shakable center when everything else is falling apart. When you develop the ability to stay calm no matter the situation, you unlock a different level of control, both over yourself and the environment around you. You don't panic when things go wrong. You don't spiral when plans fall apart. You breathe, assess, and move forward with intention instead of emotion. Staying calm is not about pretending you're not affected. It's about choosing not to let temporary emotions dictate permanent outcomes. When someone disrespects you or situations feel unfair, your instinct may be to react instantly. But reacting in the heat of the moment rarely leads to wise decisions. It usually leads to regret. When you choose calm, you create space between what happened and how you respond. That space is where power lives. That space is what allows you to act with intelligence, not impulse. And in a world that thrives on quick reactions, the person who can pause and think becomes the one who controls the direction. Composure is misunderstood. People see it as weakness, as passivity, as indifference. But it's the opposite. Composure requires discipline. It takes effort to control your breath when your heart is racing, to soften your voice when anger rises, to hold your posture when your ego wants to collapse. Staying calm in stressful moments means you're fuse, to give outside forces the ability to shake your foundation. You become a pillar, steady, strong, reliable, not only for yourself, but for those around you. People begin to trust you more, rely on your presence, look to you when the world becomes unstable. Remaining calm in the face of disrespect is one of the most powerful moves you can make. When someone insults you, manipulates you, or tries to drag you into their chaos, your reaction is what defines you, not their words. If you explode, they win. They've successfully pulled you down to their level. But when you respond with silence, with calm, with grace, they lose their grip. They can't control someone who isn't easily. Your calmness becomes your shield. And the more you use it, the more untouchable you become. You stop playing their games because you've outgrown the arena. Stressful situations can make or break you. But if you've trained your mind to stay calm, they don't intimidate you anymore. You might feel the pressure, but you don't collapse under it. You've built inner strength through experience by surviving moments where it was thought you wouldn't make it. By getting back up when life knocked you down, that strength now lives inside our calmness. You've learned that problems are temporary, emotions are fleeting, and nothing is as bad as it feels in the moment. With that understanding, you navigate life differently. You don't rush decisions. You don't overreact. You let things unfold while you maintain control over your inner world. This mindset becomes a lifestyle. You stop engaging in drama. You stop feeding chaos. You begin to attract peace because that's what you embody. People around you either rise to meet your calmness or remove themselves because they can't handle it. Either way, you win. You start to realize that staying calm is not just a personal victory. It's a tool. It gives you the edge in conversations, negotiations, relationships, and life choices. When everyone else is reacting, you're analyzing. When others are consumed by emotion, you're thinking clearly. That clarity gives you leverage. That calmness positions you above the noise. Mastering calmness doesn't mean you suppress how you feel. It means you've developed emotional intelligence. You know how to express without exploding, how to respond without attacking, how to assert without aggression. You've learned that true power isn't about dominating others. It's about controlling yourself. You don't let external circumstances decide your internal peace. And the more you practice this, the more it becomes second nature. Calm becomes artifo, your strength, your superpower. Not because you feel nothing, but because you've mastered everything. When you stop explaining yourself, you step into a higher realm of confidence and clarity. Constantly trying to justify your choices, your actions, or your emotions to others only weakens your position. People who truly understand you don't need an explanation. And those who don't understand you often won't accept one anyway. There comes a point in life where you have to realize that not everyone deserves access to your reasoning. Not everyone should be invited into the private space where you process your thoughts and make your decisions. Your life is not a public trial, and you are not on the witness stand every time someone questions your path. The need to explain often comes from a place of insecurity. You want others to approve, to validate, to agree, but when your self-worth is rooted in external acceptance, you become a prisoner to opinions. You over-explain because you want to be understood, liked, or forgiven. You've compromised your energy trying to make everyone comfortable with your truth, but that's not your responsibility. You are not here to shrink yourself so others feel better about your growth. You are not here to convince doubters or kiss applause. The people who truly matter will support your direction even when they don't fully understand it. When you learn to stop explaining, you begin protecting your peace. You no longer feel the need to replay your decisions over and over in conversation. You no longer get caught in the trap of defending every move you make. You begin to walk in silence, act in power, and let the results speak for you. Some people will still question you. They'll still assume. They'll still talk. But it's their job, not yours. Your job is to remain aligned with your values, focused on your path, and distracted by noise. You don't need to post your process. You don't need to justify your standards. You don't need to explain your healing, your boundaries, your shifts, your vision. This doesn't mean you become arrogant or dismissive. It means you choose your battles. It means you understand the value of your time and energy. When you stop explaining yourself, you start showing yourself. You let your life reflect your growth. You let your behavior show your evolution. You let your peace become your silence. Some people will misunderstand your silence. They'll interpret it as pride or defiance. But the truth is, silence is often self-respect. When you stop explaining, you're saying, I know who I am, and I don't need you to agree for it'll be true. Explaining yourself too often can dilute your message. It opens door to scrutiny, criticism, and manipulation. The more you talk, the more people pick apart your words. They twist your intentions, question your logic, and use your vulnerability against you. That's why power often moves in silence. The most effective people aren't the loudest. They're not constantly making announcements or seeking approval. They're focused, intentional, and consistent. They act without asking for permission. They evolve without explaining every step. And in doing so, they conserve energy at others' waste and justification. There's a strength in being unbothered by misunderstandings, not because you don't care at all, but because you care more about your peace than you do about being seen correctly by everyone. You understand that clarity within yourself is more important than agreement from others. The truth doesn't become false just because someone doesn't get it. Your intentions don't become invalid because someone chooses not to see them. That's why letting go of the need to explain can be one of the most empowering shifts in your life. It removes the weight of people-pleasing and replaces it with the freedom of authenticity. The less you explain, the more time you have to act. You stop trying to win people over and start winning in life. You realize that energy spent on explaining could have been Useto build. It could have been used to improve, to move forward, to create, to elevate. And as you evolve, you'll find yourself naturally speaking less and doing more. You'll surround yourself with people who don't demand explanations because they trust your integrity. You'll move in rooms where silence is respected more than over-explanation. And you'll discover the peace that comes from being so rooted in your truth that you no longer seek validation through your words. There is an immense power in choosing to forgive, not for the sake of others, but for your own peace. Holding on to grudges and resentment only chains you to the past, dragging you down emotionally and mentally. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as weakness, or as letting someone off the hook for their wrongs. But in reality, forgiveness is one of the strongest acts you can perform. It's a deliberate adhesion to release the hold that pain, anger, and bitterness have over your life. When you forgive, you reclaim your power and refuse to be defined by what others have done to you. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's not pretending that the hurt never happened or that the betrayal was acceptable. It's acknowledging the pain, accepting that past cannot be changed, and consciously choosing not to let that pain dictate your future. This process frees you from the emotional prisons of anger and revenge, which often consume more energy and cause more suffering than the original offense. When you forgive, you remove the toxic fuel that feeds your distress. You stop carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours forever. The act of forgiving doesn't mean you have to reconcile or maintain a relationship with those who hurt you. Forgiveness is an internal process, not an external agreement. You can forgive a Samin and still protect yourself by setting boundaries or distancing yourself. Sometimes forgiveness means walking away without bitterness, without hatred, and without regret. It means shielding yourself first so that you can live fully without being tethered to past wounds. You give yourself permission to move on, to grow beyond the pain, and to prioritize your well-being over holding on to resentment. Forgiveness also allows you to break cycles of negativity. When anger and bitterness fester inside, they spill over into other areas of life, relationships, work, even health. You become less patient, more reactive, and more vulnerable to stress. This negativity can infect your mindset and limit your potential. By choosing forgiveness, you create space for positivity and growth. You open the door to new opportunities, healthier connections, and a clearer mind. Your focus shifts from what was done to you to what you can do now, how you can rescind, how you can heal. Choosing forgiveness is not always easy. It requires courage to face the pain head-on rather than burying it deeper. It requires humility to accept that everyone is flawed, including those who hurt you. It requires strength to release your grip on anger, even when you feel justified in holding on to it. But a peace that follows is incomparable. Forgiveness empowers you to reclaim your life free from the chains of bitterness and regret. It's an act of self-love. It honors your right to happiness and mental freedom. When you forgive, you'll so model strength and grace to others. It's a powerful example that hurt doesn't have to define us, and that we can choose healing over hatred. Your ability to forgive can inspire those around you to let go of their own grudges and find peace. It's a ripple effect that transforms not just your life, but the lives of many. Forgiveness is a way of breaking down barriers, releasing pain, and creating a foundation for healthier, more compassionate relationships. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your power and peace. It's about refusing to let someone else's actions control your emotions and dictate your future. When you forgive, you choose freedom. Freedom from resentment, freedom from anger, and freedom from the past. This freedom allows you to focus on the present and build a future filled with hope, joy, and resilience. Forgiveness is not just a gift you give to others. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself. Living as if nothing affects you does not mean becoming numb or disconnected from life. Instead, it means developing an unshakable inner fortress that protects your peace and focus, no matter what chaos surrounds you. When you reach this level of resilience, external circumstances lose their power to disturb your equilibrium. You become like a deep ocean, calm on the surface, even when storms rage beneath. This mindset is not about denial or avoidance. It is about mastery over your inner world. It's the realization that, while you cannot control what happens to you, you can control how you respond. 1. Of the most profound transformations that comes from acting as if nothing affects you is emotional sovereignty. Emotional Sovereignty is the ability to own your feelings. Without being owned by them, it means you recognize your emotions as signals, not commands. When you develop this skill, you stop being a passenger to your emotional reactions and instead become the driver of your experience. This shift changes everything. No longer do you react impulsively or get caught in the traps of hurt, anger, or anxiety. Instead, you choose how to engage with life's challenges calmly, intentionally, and with clarity. This detachment from external triggers doesn't make you cold or indifferent. It actually deepens your empathy and understanding because you're no longer distracted by personal hurt or defensive reactions. You listen more, observe more, and respond more wisely. Your presence becomes a stabilizing force for others. As you radiate calm and strength even in difficult situations, people gravitate toward this kind of energy because it reassures them that challenges can be met with grace and composure. Living as if nothing affects you also allows you to focus on what truly matters. When your mind isn't cluttered with worries about criticism, rejection, or failure, you can pour your energy into your goals, relationships, and growth. You stop wasting time and emotional bandwidth on things beyond your control. Instead, you develop a laser-like focus that drives you forward, undeterred by distractions or negativity. This focus is a key ingredient for success in any area of life. It's the difference between drifting aimlessly and moving with purpose. Another powerful aspect of this mindset is the freedom it brings. When dictate your future. When you forgive, you choose freedom. Freedom from resentment, freedom from anger, and freedom from the past. This freedom allows you to focus on the present and build a future filled with hope, joy, and resilience. Forgiveness is not just a gift you give to others. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself. Living as if nothing affects you does not mean becoming numb or disconnected from life. Instead, it means developing an unshakable inner fortress that protects your peace and focus, no matter what chaos surrounds you. When you reach this level of resilience, external circumstances lose their power to disturb your equilibrium. You become like a deep ocean, calm on the surface, even when storms rage beneath. This mindset is not about denial or avoidance. It is about mastery over your inner world. It's the realization that, while you cannot control what happens to you, you can control how you respond. 1. Of the most profound transformations that comes from acting as if nothing affects you is emotional sovereignty. Emotional sovereignty is the ability to own your feelings. Without being owned by them, it means you recognize your emotions as signals, not commands. When you develop this skill, you stop being a passenger to your emotional reactions and instead become the driver of your experience. This shift changes everything. No longer do you react impulsively or get caught in the traps of hurt, anger, or anxiety. Instead, you choose how to engage with life's challenges calmly, intentionally, and with clarity. This detachment from external triggers doesn't make you cold or indifferent. It actually deepens your empathy and understanding because you're no longer distracted by personal hurt or defensive reactions. You listen more, observe more, and respond more wisely. Your presence becomes a stabilizing force for others. As you radiate calm and strength even in difficult situations, people gravitate toward this kind of energy because it reassures them that challenges can be met with grace and composure. Living as if nothing affects you also allows you to focus on what truly matters. When your mind isn't cluttered with worries about criticism, rejection, or failure, you can pour your energy into your goals, relationships, and growth. You stop wasting time and emotional bandwidth on things beyond your control. Instead, you develop a laser-like focus that drives you forward, undeterred by distractions or negativity. This focus is a key ingredient for success in any area of life. It's the difference between drifting aimlessly and moving with purpose. Another powerful aspect of this mindset is the freedom it brings. When you're no longer affected by the opinions or actions of others, you free yourself from the prison of approval seeking. You stop adjusting yourself to fit other people's expectations or trying to please everyone. Instead, you live authentically, guided by your values and vision. This freedom to be yourself without fear of judgment is incredibly liberating. It fosters confidence and creativity, allowing you to express your true potential with authenticity. The practice of acting as if nothing affects you builds resilience over time. Each time you choose calm over chaos, you strengthen your emotional muscles. Each time you refuse to be baited by criticism or drama, you reinforce your boundaries. This consistency creates a new normal Wario, not easily shaken. Challenges still come, but they don't derail you. You recover faster, learn quicker, and keep moving forward. This resilience becomes a core part of your identity, a source of strength you can draw on whenever life tests you. This way of living also shifts your relationship with pain and discomfort. Instead of fearing or avoiding difficult emotions, you acknowledge them without allowing them to control you. You understand that discomfort is temporary and often necessary for growth. You develop the capacity to sit with discomfort calmly, knowing it will pass and that it doesn't define you. This acceptance reduces suffering and increases your ability to navigate life's ups and downs with grace. When you act as if nothing affects you, you inspire others to do the same. Your example shows that it's possible to maintain peace amid turmoil. You demonstrate that strength isn't loud or aggressive, but steady and composed. This influence can create a ripple effect, encouraging those around you to cultivate their own resilience and emotional mastery. In this way, your personal growth becomes a beacon of hope and empowerment for others. Embodying this mindset transforms your overall experience of life. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, you become an active participant and creator of your reality. You respond rather than react. You lead rather than follow. You stand firm amid storms, unshaken and unwavering. This power changes how you see yourself and the world. It brings a deep sense of peace, confidence, and purpose that can carry you through any challenge or opportunity that life presents. Act as if nothing affects you. Not because you're heartless, but because you're unbreakable. You've been through enough. You've cried enough. You've explained yourself enough. Now, it's time to level up in silence. Let them think you recode. Let them think you don't care. Let them misunderstand your calm for arrogance. Because the truth is, you've learned that emotions are valuable, and you no longer give them away for free. Walk through the fire like it's wind. Let betrayal slide off like rain. Let insults vanish into the void because nothing can break a soul that's already found its peace. Nothing can move a mind that's trained to stay still in chaos. Act as if nothing affects you. Not to pretend, but to protect. And in that calm, in that silence, in that stillness, you become unethical.